if you are returning, I'm so glad. If you're new, I'm so glad you found me, and I hope that you stick around because I love to have you. And I hope you subscribe too. And like and comment on the video, that helps. I've tried to film this video for the last, I think this is my third attempt. This is going to be a mukbang, however you pronounce it. I think it's mukbang or mukbang. Trailer Trash Tammy, also known as Chelsea Hill. If you like raunchy humor, check her out. She has a YouTube channel and she does what she calls mukbangs. She's making fun of mukbangs or mukbangs. If you don't like raunchy, gross, disgusting teenage boy humor kind of thing, you probably wouldn't like her channel. But yeah, very crude humor. But anyway, I think of her when I see mukbangs on YouTube. But I genuinely like these kind of videos because I feel like I'm sitting with a friend just chatting and eating. And my favorite kind of ASMR videos are whispered rambles, and that's what this is today. So today I'm going to be whispered rambling about neighborhood gossip. It's mostly good stuff. It's good gossip. People, good, decent people being good, decent people to other human beings. And I think we need to hear more of that in this world. So that's why I'm putting this out here. My food that I'm going to be eating. Like I said, this is like my third attempt with this video. The food's getting cold and soggy. Sort of, not really. But it is from Wild Crab Cajun Seafood and Bar. There used to be a Logan's Roadhouse where this Wild Crab restaurant is located locally now. I have no idea if Wild Crab is national or if it's regional. I don't know. These earphones keep popping out. So I got fried Cajun catfish and French fries. I usually eat pretty healthy, so this is a junker. Had to drink a bunch of water and some dandelion tea to cleanse afterward. But I also got some corn on a cob, and look at what it came in. 3 little pieces of corn on a cob came in this big bag. It looks like a body bag. 3 little pieces of corn in that, and they tied it up at the top. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny, that big bag. So I've tried to do this video so many times I don't even remember what I just said, like what I told you, or if I said it in my last attempt. But anyway, let me start from the beginning. This is about neighborhood gossip, and let me just set up my neighborhood for you. I live in a small, probably mid-sized city, about 150,000. And it's in the U.S. Midwest. It gets bitterly cold here. We had a blizzard the other day, -9 those people have passed away, or their kids have moved to the suburbs, or left the city and state completely. So anyway, this is a working class neighborhood. That's like the 15th time I said that. I'm going to start at the top of the block. A lot of people on this block are what I would call lifers. They have lived here pretty much their entire lives. And myself included. This is a family home that I live in, and we have had this home in our family since probably the early 80s. It was built in 1924, and it is part of my soul. I love it. I adore it. So, we'll start at the top of the block. The people who live there. It's a couple, a man and a woman. The woman's probably in her late 70s. The guy's probably in his early 80s, like 80, 81. They're in very good health and they're active. They have lived well beneath their means over the decades. They have invested wisely, worked hard, invested very wisely, got lucky too, and they are thought to have loads of money, which I think is probably true, but they still live well below their means. The wife was my computer science teacher in the late 80s, early 90s at the Catholic grade school I went to down the street, just 3 blocks down. This was back when this was like first generation Apple computers. They were like, the monitors were like, you know, 5 feet thick. Not really, but you know what I mean. And we played stuff on it like the Oregon Trail, where you could die of dysentery in the game. I don't know if any of you are too young to get that reference, but anyway. She was our computer science teacher. She's very nice. The guy is a little bit more difficult to get to know. He's kind of gruff and can be a little grumpy, but I think that's part of his charm. I've since, in the last couple of years, started to talk to him more, made more of an effort, and he's a nice guy too. He asked me about the stray cats on the block that the neighbor down the street feeds, and he gets concerned about the stray cats, and I know him and his wife feed the cats sometimes too, and even let some in their house if it's really cold. So, despite maybe a little bit of a gruffer exterior, he really does have a very good heart, I think. So, I remember him as a kid. He had the smallish city-sized plot of land that you could mow with a lawnmower easily, a push mower. But he would have these big, hulking riding lawnmowers, like state-of-the-art riding lawnmowers that usually most people mow acres and acres of land with, but he has this tiny little city lot he's mowing with this big riding lawnmower. And I understand now that he's in his 80s, I think he does have some back problems, but back in the day, he was very fit and active, but he still used this big riding lawnmower to mow his little plot of land. It's kind of funny. To me, it would seem like it'd be easier to just get out a manual kind of mower and just push it rather than try to negotiate a big hulking riding mower in these smaller spaces. I don't know. He also owns the lot across the street that used to have a house on it, and the house that used to be across the street is where the wife grew up, and they rented that house out for many decades, and then that house started to kind of go into some disrepair, and I guess they didn't want to spend the money to revamp neighbors next door over the simplest little thing. Like if those people don't mow their grass one week and it gets a little shaggy, but let's say it's been hot and humid and rainy, it just might be too hot to get out there and mow. They're calling code to report long grass. It's, I'm very non-confrontational. I am not going to call code over long grass. I don't care if you have a jungle in the yard next door to me. I don't want to rock the boat. And I know some people would say that I'm part of the problem. But again, I've seen enough things through work of neighbors going off on each other and getting violent. At just the point, I don't care if your grass is too long. They also tend to call the police on renters who have lived there over the years if they get even slightly too loud. And again, when they have called, those people whoever has lived there at the time have indeed been loud. But again, I don't know, they weren't violent. I don't think I would call, I didn't call the police on them. It's not something that I prefer to get involved in. And again, maybe I'm part of the problem, but I'm just being true to myself. I could tell you some horrendous stories of people going off on each other as far as neighbors, from work-related stories that I've heard, but so I have my reasons. The renters who have lived there over the years, like I said, it's been a variety of people. Some have been quiet, some have been slightly loud, some have been, one was really loud. But again, I never worried about them getting violent or starting shooting, or I think they just played loud music once in a while. Next door to the rental house is the house that is next door to me. Living there is a guy in his 70s. He was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. But he's still pretty active. He mows his lawn. He shovels. He's just a very active person. He is really one of the best neighbors you could ask for. He again is another lifer on this block. He grew up in the house. His family moved into it in the 1950s. He's in his early, maybe mid-70s actually. They moved in the 1950s. And he lived here. He moved out when he was an adult. He lived in an apartment, and then will help other neighbors out with yard work. You don't even have to ask him. Sometimes you just find him in your yard trimming bushes or weed whacking. I don't mind that. I'm grateful for it. He also shovels, or rather snow blows, the entire block on this side. He's just a gem of a neighbor, and you try to offer him money, he won't take it. But he still gives people gifts for Christmas. Like, he'll give my mother and myself, he'll give us gift cards to local places, and it's like, why are you giving us something? We need to be giving you something. But he won't take any money. He doesn't like gifts. He's a really sweet person. We're blessed to have him as a neighbor. And then there's my house next door to him. And next door to me is a house that I think was built in the 30s. And in the 1940s, there was a murder in that house. It was a murder-suicide. I don't know all the details, but it was a man and a woman couple. One of them shot the other and then turned the gun on themselves. That's what I've heard from several lifers on this block. So, after that happened, then a guy moved in there, and he was the neighbor I remember as a kid. He was an elderly man back then. He was in his 80s, probably 90s. And my grandmother lived with us when I was a child. I call her, she was like our Alice on the Brady Bunch. She was like a maid, nanny, grandma. But my grandmother and I often walked around the neighborhood. We'd go to the local store a couple blocks away, and we'd stop and talk to neighbors along the way, and he was one of them. And he always was giving me seeds, like tomato seeds, just seed packets to plant my own garden, or giving me plant starts. So he kind of got me onto gardening. He died when he was in his late 90s. I don't know, maybe about 30 years ago. And then when he passed away, somebody else moved into the house. The family was very nice, who lived there for a while, maybe 20 years, and then they've since moved out, and now there is a mom with some kids living there, and they're very nice. You can have chickens in the city. You can keep city chickens in your yard. I think you need a special permit, and they have a permit for that. So I think raccoons have gotten some of their chickens recently, so they've got a thinned out chicken population now. They largely keep to themselves, but when you do see them out, they say hi, and that's fine with me. Next to them is a family of a mom, dad, a couple kids, and one of the kids, a teenage boy. He cuts my grass. My lawnmower broke last year, and I needed somebody to mow the lawn, so he started doing it then for what I thought would be once or twice, but he did such a good job, and I don't like heat, so I just figured I'll just pay him to do it. So he does a really good job. He's a really nice guy, really nice kid, really nice young man, whatever he wants to be called. And he mows a couple yards on this block, so he has a good reputation here. Next door to him is another lifer on the block. She is a woman in her late 70s, mid to late 70s. I think she's 76, and she's lived in the house her whole life pretty much, and living with her is her she obviously she survived. It was a miracle. But it wasn't the brain cancer so much that made her go blind. It was the radiation. They radiated your whole brain back then. They didn't do more targeted radiation. So her retina weakened to the point where she went blind. So she now lives with her mother in the house, and the daughter I was scared of her at first. She was just seemingly always yelling at neighborhood kids. She turned the hose on my friends and I that one year when we were playing in the house next door on the other side. We were playing in that yard and she turned the hose on us and started swearing at us in Hungarian. I think it was one of the friends got mouthy with her about something. I can't remember what it was about. But I was scared of her at first. And then when I was a teenager, I was out walking my dog once, and she was sitting on her front porch all by herself, and she called me up, and she started talking to me, and then we developed a very special friendship after that. And when she passed away, she had a smallish size family. They kept the funeral to just the family, like 5 or 6 people, and they invited me too. I was like 20 when she passed away. I don't remember how old I was actually, but I was very young, you know, to be hanging out with a 98-year-old. But she was I'm very grateful for the friendship that I had with her. She was just a very interesting lady. A Hungarian immigrant of good peasant stock, so to speak. She actually told me that she was unsure of when her birthday was because when she was born, everybody had diphtheria in the household, including her mother, and her mother ended up dying a couple days after she was born, and nobody bothered to record what day she was born. So she has a rough idea of when her birthday was, but she could be off by a couple days. And then let me see. Next door to where that lady used to live, that's now an Airbnb, next door there was another old Hungarian lady who could not stand the lady that I just told you about. Her name was Ella. The lady who I was friends with, her name was Ella, who died at 98 years old many years ago. The lady who lived next to Ella, they didn't get along at all, and the rumor is, well, I don't even think it's a rumor. I remember when I was friends with Ella, she told me that the lady next door, who was named Louise, she supposedly flirted with Ella's husband in the 1940s while doing yard work, and Ella then just had it out from her from that day on. And I remember Louise as a force to be reckoned with as a kid. She was very much a church lady. She was very active at the Catholic Church a couple blocks from my house. And she would throw parties for the choir. She'd have choir parties, and there would be parishioners over there, and so Louise had this very dignified, proper image. But at the same time, I think beneath that, there was a firecracker underneath there, because I remember she used to get kind of flirty with my dad. So I don't deny what Ella's saying about her, and I don't say. I mean, they've both been passed away for more than 10 years each, probably. I don't say this in a crappy way. I say it with love and amusement. I say it as that I've been very blessed to have multi-generational friendships, and I grew up knowing older people like that, knowing that life doesn't stop at 30 or 40 or 50, that you can go on and live a very interesting, active, saucy life well beyond that. Louise always kept an immaculate garden. She grew prize-winning poppies, orange flowers, beautiful orange delicate flowers. And when she moved out of her house to move into an assisted living facility many years ago, she gave